I will send out an army to find you. In the darkest night, it's true, I will rescue you. That was just on my mind before coming on here. Lauren Daigle, Rescue. If that resonates with you, if you want to take a look, then please do. Anyway, on to today's reading. Hello, and welcome to Emerald Thoth with me, Mark. It's bright out here. I hope you're all doing well. Hope your weeks are going well and you're just becoming more and more aligned, as is the mission. And that's what I wanted to do a read on today, as I see these pigeons, these kind of wood pigeons, they just keep going up and then down and like gliding, which I haven't seen much of before, to be honest. I could say that you're doing this kind of work at the moment in the material world, as you're rising up and then going down a bit and then going in waves of putting in the effort, flapping a bit and then just gliding and flapping a bit and gliding and going with the flow, the currents of air, as it were. So this could indicate a message today about you going with the currents of air and gliding. And that song, Rescue, can talk to many facets. It could be you helping to rescue this planet, or us collectively helping to rescue this planet, or rescuing people in your lives, or rescuing yourself. And ultimately, it's if we follow the guidance of the Creator, of the Divine, that we rescue ourselves and others and the whole cosmos. So let's get a read today on your mission and what the next steps are on your mission, to try and bring it back into the now as such, and to see what Spirit advice is on your next steps. I'll bring in an Angels of Atlantis Oracle card to start with. Ooh, that is too many. Let's have a look just to try. Can we get one kind of card spirit to go? I mean, lots of angels that maybe want to come through and help guide. So you have a lot of angelic support, is what would be indicated to me by the start of how this is coming out. But there is one. At the bottom of the deck is Raziel, faith. It encourages you to have faith, to be open and surrendered to the universe. Lots of purple energy. So third eye and crown type chakra, to be channeling that light, that information, that knowledge of the divine. The card that came through was Jophiel, forgiveness. And this could be asking you to forgive yourself, to forgive others around you, and to feel forgiven from the divine, because once we understand ourselves and others in their true natures, and that would start with understanding ourselves in our true natures, is that we can learn to appreciate it in others. And I've seen that in my life. I actually find it easier to do so with animals, to see their true natures, because they're less so egoic in a sense than human beings are. They follow more their kind of natural rhythms, and they can in some ways be more conscious. But whether it's human beings or whether it's animals, when we understand other people's natures and that they're not going to react exactly how we think we're going to react, which is an ego identity issue, that we think other people around us should act a certain way, and we form a structure and a model of life in our intellectual minds, that isn't how the world works. And what we can fall into the trap and danger of is then we start to meet the people that fit that intellectual model, even though it's not us being in our natural self. So we find people who fit boxes for us, whether that's a marriage partner, whether that's a job, or whether that's a calling of work we do, or whether that's multiple partners, whatever it is in our lives, whether it's the things that we buy. The more we identify with something, the less we would obviously be in a natural flow, but it's not that obvious because it's not really something that's discussed. So Jophiel Hill is asking for forgiveness, and is asking, in this case, to talk about love, and divine love is also a power. Forgiveness is a power because there's yellow here, and it represents a lot of kind of solar plexus, a little bit of sacral energy, but giving me more solar plexus in this card, and kind of Mother Mary energy of divine and unconditional love. Interestingly, I see a little grasshopper, and grasshopper is a sign of growth and abundance. It's a little bit like a beetle / a grasshopper. I'm not even too sure which it is, but it's a very green, let's say, looks like a grasshopper with 6 legs. And grasshoppers represent change and evolution, like little grasshopper, if you go watch the Karate Kid. And also in the story of David and Goliath, David is like a grasshopper, and I think it's Elijah as well, when the tribes of Israel, this is going back to a lot of history, but they believed they were like grasshoppers to these giant men which they managed to fend off by uniting together. And that is kind of what's being saying, like even in the story of David and Goliath, even like the tiniest grasshopper can defeat the biggest giant. And we as individuals can grow in that sense, whatever the physical look and appearance is. It's not all based on physical looks and appearances. And also if we unite together, then you can show strength in numbers as well. So the more of us embody this kind of forgiveness, this kind of divine feminine element, and a sense of Christ consciousness with the kind of, it's also like golden as well, as much as it's yellow, the more we can collect together. My grasshopper friend is going to, I think, just stay here for this reading. So that's giving an undertone and an overall bit of knowledge to this read. I'm going to take tarot cards to see what Spirit wants to say in terms of the overall message. Let's see what cards come out. Okay. The first card out is the Two of Wands. So planning and preparation, exploration, looking through the telescope with the looking glass. And this is the start of an adventure here. You've got mountains in the background. You've got this kind of bright orange energy. Again, this can talk to creative expression as well with this card, and it gives, again, going towards a sense of empowerment in your expression and your feelings. And that can be something we're trying to work with at this time, is to how to express ourselves in an empowered and creative sense, in a feminine sense, when you look at the sacral chakra a little bit, because it's saying to express your emotions and how you feel. And often in this world, because we do have the wounded element of the divine feminine is being suppressed and not being heard. But here you have a rhino, and a rhino is quite determined. There's a lot of earthy elements to this Two of Wands. We know it's the suit of fire. And it's saying you're looking and you're exploring and you're preparing the journey. So that's the kind of start of the next steps. The bottom of the deck, just before I pull another card, is the Hermit. And interestingly, this Hermit is a snail going at, well, no, it's not a snail, it's a hermit crab. It's quite more out, but it gives a kind of sense of a snail of a slower pace that you're working at, and that you're moving, your home moves with you, and you move with this. It's got mountains in the background as well. It's giving a sense of journey and adventure, but before you were kind of here, now you're starting again, being guided by spirit. Wands as such related to spirit and the soul. See if there's one, or however many cards. And so 4 cards pop up. So let's run through these. I'll go through in this order. So the first card out is Death. And that seems to follow on from that kind of hermit energy here, and this is you're going back to the bare bones with this one. This is a skeleton version of Death, and normally Death is appeared as a skeleton, but there's no cloak on it. This is a stripped back kind of Death, even though Death itself is stripping back. And it's saying it gives a sense of movement. There's no grandiose element to this Death, and most of these cards here are animals, but this is human. And it's saying that you're going through big transformations and changes. You're looking out to the world and where you go, and this is as a result of big changes and transformation of your life. It can also represent cutting cords and cutting people, as well as previous versions of yourself that kind of are attached to those people, or even just the cords that you have with those people, not that they're fully out of your life, but the way that you react and interact with those people is different because you yourself have transformed inside. And that brings you to strength. It's bringing this, and you start to embody this strength of your expression, of your creativity, of who you are. You start to see who you are and put on the crown. It's like this is kind of refleshing this card as a strong lion. And there's like a determination in those eyes. So it's saying you are You're regal in your power. You have this power in you. The number 8, kind of like infinity as well. You are infinitely powerful, and through the deaths and transformations, you realise that. Through the change, you realise that the more you resist those changes, the longer it takes, really, to be honest. Not the less embodied you'll be, it's just the longer you come to embody it, the more kind of takes you're going to take at getting into this sense of who you are, of this divine power, and embodying it and fleshing it out as such. So the more your perception is in line with who you are, the more your perception is in line with who you are, the faster the acceleration of these changes and the stronger you become. I like that. 2 of Swords. So the solar plexus energy here, so this is giving a sense of where you've been and where you may remain is a little bit in indecision. This is more the positive side of any of the 2s, really, but because you're full of passion and desire. But your mind is telling you in the Swords here is, I'm not so sure. But you kind of have to let that go. You kind of have to drop the swords, because you're not always going to know. There's very pondering, this crocodile kind of here, and it's like he's saying that make a decision one way or the other, it will be aligned. This grasshopper comes back. He's been gone for the last 5 minutes or so. He's come back and he's rising up above the top of my jacket. So it's saying, like, let this go, let this indecision go, and just move. And if you are embodying, and if your soul is being divinely aligned, then this will follow. The mind will follow. Forgive yourself. And you know, the place we can understand that is mentally, is intellectually. And so you move on the material plane with the pentacles. You move with a level of purpose. You move like this beaver kind of knight. It's quite resourceful. It gives me, it's obviously quite earthy, and you move it on a heart-based element as well, in a heart-based manner, with this greenery to represent the heart chakra. And you have this big pentacle in hand, this big idea. You have a sword. You have one sword in hand. It's almost you've made a decision, and you're now moving with it at the slowest pace of any of the knights. But you are moving with consistent, daily, aligned action, and with a more decisive plan. And at the bottom of the deck, I've switched decks. At the bottom of the deck is the King of Pentacles, and this is where you are looking to go and embody. This is where the Knight of Pentacles is moving towards in time. So from the Hermit to the King of Pentacles and all those cards in between. Take the Astro Matrix Tarot. Let's kind of elucidate further on that. As I bring out the deck is the Hierophant. And so this is quite an interesting version of the Hierophant. This is Shiva, I believe, and it's, you know, gives a kind of more ancient sense. Obviously, the kind of India vibes of kind of Buddhist beliefs and higher consciousness understanding. Even again, you know, Jesus went to understand these kind of ancient traditions. It's been throughout history and in different religions, just across spirituality. And I'm coughing, and I don't think I've ever coughed in one of these videos. So that indicates to me that this knowledge is not easy to speak, and it's not easy to come out. This death also has a kind of turquoisey kind of colour, which would go between the heart and the throat chakra. So like speaking your truth, and speaking with this, you know, heart-based movement, moving and speaking with the heart. And this is kind of you embodying a divine consciousness, and, you know, gives a sense of Reiki and healing of the hands as well. So you're moving forward as a healer with divine knowledge, but there may be forces around you that don't want you to necessarily speak that. But I think you're probably at a stage now where you're aware of that, and you are not so encumbered by those darker forces, or the darker forces that operate through others, and you are understanding the value of your voice and your truth, and being embodied in this strength. So this card popped out, Ace of Wands. So we've got the Two of Wands in there from another deck, and we've got the Ace of Wands here. So the Spirit is saying, Spirit is saying to you here, take this passion and drive and this understanding of your soul and that thing you know within you that you've always had, and run with it. Start planning, start moving with it, start cutting the cords, start embodying it, start realizing how strong you are, because the egoic version of the world that we live in at this moment in time is not so strong. And it's through divine knowledge, like the Hierophant, and it's through forgiveness how you can understand what a higher strength is. This card has flipped round to say, take me. This card was coming out, so I'll take it as well. It was on its side and then it came to the bottom of the deck. That's way too many cards. The Empress and the Magician wanted to show. Okay. So, the bottom of the deck here, as I look, is the Six of Cups, and then there's the Three of Swords. You're moving on from the Three of Swords, you're moving on from heartache. There haven't been many cup cards so far, but this is indicating that you're moving away from it. You've learned from the sorrow. Growth is always through pain. Whenever you're growing, it means you're changing container, so it's uncomfortable. But through that discomfort is where the growth comes, is where the rewards are found. So without growing, without becoming uncomfortable, without leaving a certain container or a certain way that things have been, then you just won't grow and you won't expand your fulfillment. And that's kind of what the cups relate to, is fulfillment. You know, it's not just emotion, it's this general kind of fulfillment in our lives, which we feel primarily in the emotional realm. And at the bottom of the deck was the Six of Cups. So that Three of Swords, I said it's a Cups card, it's not a Cups card, it's a Swords card. It's a Swords card with a heart in there. And so it's in your mind that this feeling is there. It's not necessarily in your heart or the rest of your being. It's by your perception of the past and the heartaches and where you are in life, you know, where the future is and where the past is. But really, that's not the case in your heart, because it's the Six of Cups, which is where you are and where you've been, kind of childhood memories, past life connections, balanced emotion. And so it's an in-between, but the cups in the in-between phase in the minor arcana are saying there have been good and bad things before. You have nice wistful memories in like the Two of Cups and the Three of Cups, and the Four of Cups gets a little bit stagnant, and the Five of Cups is not so nice and there's grief. And then you come to a midpoint in the journey, and in this midpoint there's nice things, but then there's a sense of wanting to grow, because the Six of Cups is nice and wistful, but it's not in the now, and you're moving towards the Ten of Cups, and so on that journey you have to leave the past behind. And this is what it's saying in your next steps. You've been in that Six of Cup energy, which is nice and wistful, but you now have to move forward, because nothing can remain the same, because death is always active in our lives in different ways and to different degrees. And sometimes it's necessary, like this kind of heartache from the Three of Swords, sometimes that sorrow is necessary, and that pain and that discomfort is necessary, so we can grow, so we can recalibrate. The card that came out first was the King of Wands. And so you're embodying that sense of fire. This is, you've gone from here to here, which is all the way through the suit of wands, really, from top to tail. And so it's interesting to me that there's a kind of town in this background. But in this card, there's no town. It's like, this is the desert. There's a throne and there's a desert. But it doesn't matter where the King of Wands is, because he's fire, because he's spirit, because he's soul. He's able to take any kind of environment, because he has his own warmth, he has his own sense of stability in it, and he's got a connection with spirit. So you're embodying a connection with spirit and your own passions and your own drives. Now you need more grounded kind of elements around you, but at the same time, this is taking you, there's a lot of wands in this read, from the Ace and the Two of Wands to this embodied sense of power. And you've also got the Strength card in here, which is, you know, Leo as well, and this gives a very sense of Leo in this King of Wands. After that was the Two of Cups, wanted to pop out and then did pop out at the bottom of the deck. So the fact that it was kind of like this in there, and I was like, should I take it? No, I'm not going to take it. And they come up at the bottom to say, take me, like I'm literally in front of your face. It's saying there's a Two of Cups situation in front of your face, or situations. Now this can be you, yourself. There's also a nice little sunset, which at the start of the reading the sun was going down and it's now fully going down behind me. But this gives me a sense of a romantic connection. This could be your own divine union within yourself. This could be just individual partnerships that fulfill you in your life, but it gives me a sense of romance. There may be a romantic connection that you're missing, and it just keeps running through my mind because I go Six of Cups, past life connections that can also relate to a partner. There's a, inner child kind of thing going on with the young boy and the young girl. And there's two women on here, so it doesn't really matter about the gender, but the point is it's the partnership. And this is the kind of development of it, even though 2 and a 6 is not so linear in the tarot. You're kind of going back to a Two of Cups energy and a sense of partnership. Yeah, a little bit actually. When I saw it coming out, I saw this top then, I thought, is it the Lovers? Because it's like the angel wings, but it's not quite the Lovers. It's still a sense of love in this card. And I think that's what it's called in the Thoth deck from Crowley, is love. So love in whatever form, but certainly in a dualistic, either you with another person or you within yourself, in divine masculine, divine feminine union, is love is available for you. It's all over this reading. And the reason that I said that and the Six of Cups is giving me the romantic element is also this Ace of Pentacles. And I had it like this. So I'll show you the other card. It's going to be the King of Swords, but this side was covered, this kind of these white flowers, but this side was showing, and the rose is very romantic, and it gives a sense of crown to root chakra as well, this Ace of Pentacles, which I'll talk about in a second. But again, there's a sense of romance with the rose showing that there is a rose on offer. There is love and romance in your life on offer, and you don't have to take it straight away, and you don't have to rush and reach out for anything. Roses also have thorns, so you have to be ready again for a sense of discomfort and pain to get those joys and benefits. But at the same time, if you're willing to go through that struggle and you're willing to grow, and you are in a sense of being in this forgiveness for yourself and for others around you, then you can start to embody this kind of love that would spread a Two of Cups situation with another. And so this card is the Ace of Pentacles, and what it's saying is manifest those things, not just romance, but this travel and adventure and this work that you're doing and these changes that you're doing. It's saying the universe is offering you this material abundance and these ideas for you to set these plans into motion. This is where the reading is going to, is setting the plans into physical motion. This was the last card on the side. It's now Pentacles moving towards it. This is the second last card I'm taking here, and it's saying here are the ideas and the ways to do it. And the garden that you have there, there is a garden for you, but there's also a journey. There's more mountains in here as well. There's a journey for you to go out and find your own garden, or to return to this garden, because it gives you a sense that this one at the moment is a little bit of an ideal and fantasy, and you have to go and find this embodiment, this earthly embodiment of it in the 3D plane. And these flowers, whether they're like lilies or narcissus or daffodils kind of things, they are a kind of, again, this spiritual embodiment, and this is the root chakra embodiment. It's from your whole being wants to embody this, and it's asking you to go on a journey to find it, to find your garden of Eden, your garden of paradise, your heaven on earth as such. And obviously with the universe is offering out, you're at the start of that journey. So the final card here is the Knight of Swords. Sorry, the King of Swords. Because we have two kings here. And so you're coming into a high level embodiment of your masculine, because these are both masculine signs, fire and air. And it kind of moves on a little bit, because you see there's clouds here that are kind of swept and showing you what's on offer, and this is you being intellectually understanding what that means, what's on offer. you've gone way past the Two of Swords here. You've got into understanding the things that you need to cut out and what you need to be clear on in your mind. The white here is very pure and clear. You've got also connection to your heart and to your root. So it's going through from like the crown to the heart to the root chakra. All of you is kind of embodying this in a human form. And I talk about mountains. This king is amongst the mountains. So the Spirit is asking you to be clear in your mind, to be pure in your mind, to have a clear mind as such. So you can make the logical and rational decisions to embody this kind of heaven on earth, to follow what your spirit is telling you, and also be clear in your mind what it's telling you. I would say follow what your mind is telling you, but following the mind is a lot trickier in the human form, the current state of human affairs, because it's more important for us to tap into our soul and the spiritual connection. This is more important in the modern world in the masculine sense, and this is something you have to be very careful of and very clear of. It's more a case of cutting things down and pushing things out in the logical arena, because that's what an embodied King of Swords is. A disembodied one, King of Swords, is cruel, is hyperlogical, is all rational based decisions and no heart, and that's not what you're looking for. And so that's what you're looking to embody. There was the Knight of Cups there, and it didn't come out, but I would say you've got, even the masculine realm is embodying this sense of intellectual understanding with spiritual understanding in your passions. And with this, and what would be also the Knight of Cups, is a sense of moving forward in that feminine elements and finding the places to embody and ground these senses of masculine, and embodying in the material realm these changes and this strength that is coming through, this strong person and being that's helping the earth through the understanding of your heart and the physical embodiment of that, and centering yourself in your spiritual knowledge and your intellectual logical knowledge. So it's quite a path that you're on, and like I say, you know, we can all seem like little grasshoppers and just floating along, but there's always purpose to it. There's always moments of effort and then gliding through and then trying again and moving with the waves and the flow of life. And obviously the moves and the waves we want to go with is a divine flow. And through that energy, through that leaping and rising above, because it's also what grasshoppers do, through that leaping and rising above is you saying, I'm going to be mightier than I seem. And that's not an egotistical thing, that's a sense of genuine strength, a genuine balance of your masculine and feminine elements, and walking through this world with a divine sense of forgiveness, because that really is one of the greatest strengths we have. It's not really taught to us. Too much in our ego, we don't understand it, but just with the right amount and with the right understanding and the right connection with the divine, we couldn't move in this earth, you know, in a heart-based way that ripples out to everyone and everything on this plane. So thank you for being here, thank you for listening, thank you for connecting with yourself and with divine knowledge, because it's needed at this time. We need to heal those masculine elements, we need to embody the strong feminine elements, and we need to work towards creating more heaven on earth as such, not in a grandiose way or fantastical way, but in a way that brings more grace and love and just a higher vibration to everyone around us. I love you, I believe in you. Namaste.